It will really be good. It will help you all understand these prayers and learn these prayers over a period of time. So every time we start the class, please keep these prayer sheets handy. If you want, you can print them and keep them whatever way you like it, but keep them handy with you. Okay. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatha Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadotam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanatamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Shute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo Rama Ramo Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Very happy and grateful to be amidst all of you all here today. And thank you once again for joining in. Wishing all of you a very happy Diwali and a prosperous new year. Today we are continuing our series of characters from the Mahabharat, and we're getting into the character of Arjun. So as I had mentioned to you all previously, that the character study of Arjun and Krishna are going to be really mind-blowing and very deeply connected to all of y'all. So before we enter into the Bhagavad Gita, we are preparing ourselves by studying these two most important personalities of the Gita. In fact, the reason we did the whole character analysis of all these characters in the Mahabharata and we did the storyline of the Mahabharata is to come to this point where we study Arjun and Krishna well, and then we can get into the Bhagavad Gita. So now that we are at this point, at this juncture in our study of characters, so let us dive deep into the character of Arjun and understand the mood and so many aspects of Arjun's life. And through these various aspects of Arjun's life, we will understand how to manage our life. So that's why today's session is Art of Self-Management. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be discussing many individual stories of Arjun's life. And through these various stories of Arjun's life, you will actually get to learn so many ways in which you can sort your life out, in which you can manage your life in a most amazing way. And rightly said, Arjun is the right person to study because he was a hero of his times. He was one of the most successful people of his times, knowledge-wise, skills-wise, relationships-wise, in so many responsibilities, and every single way he was successful. And therefore, when I present this to the young kids, I introduce Arjun as a hero that everyone wants to be. If probably Arjun had an Instagram account, he would have crossed 1 billion, 2 billion probably, and he was really that famous. So let us see what exactly in Arjun is valuable and what exactly do we really learn from this most amazing and intriguing personality of Arjun, especially applying it into our lives. So life is like an iceberg. A lot of what you see is only a small portion of your life. What you don't see is what your life is all about. 75% of what you don't see about a human being is called character. And 25% of what you see in a human being is called personality. So people are very impressed with personalities. Unfortunately, they don't know people's characters. In fact, many people are even unaware of their own character. So while the world focuses completely on the 25% which is above water, the Vedic scriptures inspire us to focus on the 75% that is below water. Most people mistake iceberg to be a small piece of ice that is floating above water. But actually, they don't understand that small piece that is floating above water is only a small part of it. And the same mistake we do with human beings. When we look at a person, we say, wow, what a personality he is, what a charismatic person he is. But you don't see the 75% that is hidden from the world. Unfortunately, that 75% that is hidden from the world actually causes the biggest tragedies to the world. Isn't that true for icebergs also? The 75% that is inside, which is not seen, is what causes the biggest tragedies. And the 25% that we all are experts at covering up, and experts at showing off, especially with all these personality development trainings and all that, we become quite expert in hiding the 75% that is not visible. And therefore, Arjun's character is an amazing character in the Mahabharat that helps us reflect on so many things that we should be reflecting on. So here are some amazing stories from Arjun's life. Some of these stories you may know, but many of them you may not know. And even the stories that you know, I can bet you that you would never learn a lesson in the way that we're going to discuss today. So I hope all of you are ready. Please fasten your seatbelts and we're going to take off on this fascinating journey of Arjun's life. When Arjun was small and he was a part of the Gurukul of Dronacharya, Dronacharya called all the young boys who were studying under him and he showed them a wooden bird, a small wooden bird. And he kept that wooden bird on top of a tree, on a branch. And he asked all of them to shoot at the eye of the bird. They had to shoot the arrow exactly at the eye of the bird. And then once he told them what the test was, he called each one individually to see how they're going to perform. He called Yudhishthir and he asked him to take a name. Yudhishthir took a name and Dronacharya asked him, what do you see? Before he even shot the arrow, he didn't allow him to shoot the arrow. He said, first tell me what do you see after taking a name. Yudhishthir said, I can see the bird. I can see the eye of the bird. Dronacharya said, keep the bow down. Don't shoot. Then he called Duryodhan. He asked him, what you can see? Duryodhan saw. He saw the eye of the bird. He saw the bird. He saw the tree. He saw the clouds behind the tree. He wanted everything, so he saw everything, basically. Then Dronacharya told him, keep the bow down. And he called Bhima. And he asked him to take a name. So Dronacharya asked him, what do you see? He said, I can see the bird. And I can see so many fruits hanging on the tree. Bhima was focused heavily on eating, so he could see fruits all the time. So Dronacharya told him, keep the bow down. And then he asked Arjun to come. And he asked him to take a name. Arjun took a name. And then Dronacharya asked him, what do you see? Arjun said, I can see the eye of the bird. And Dronacharya asked him, what else do you see? He said, I see nothing else. Dronacharya said, come on, all your friends are seeing so many things. How come you're seeing nothing else? He said, I can't see anything else. I can only see the eye of the bird. Dronacharya told him, you don't even have to shoot. I know what the result is. And when he allowed Arjun to shoot, it hit exactly the eye of the bird. The first lesson that we can learn from Arjun's life is the lesson on focus. All of us in our childhood, we know the power of focus. When you have focused that magnifying glass using the sun's rays on a small piece of paper, and you actually successfully burnt paper. If you have not done it, I'm telling you, even at this age, whatever age you all are, please try doing it. It's a very powerful lesson on focus. Just that magnifying lens projecting a single ray of the sun's light on a piece of paper, it can actually burn that piece of paper. Archimedes used this principle to burn enemy ships during a war. Now imagine, just by using magnifying glasses, they were standing on the shore and they burned ships of enemies using this trick. So the idea of focus is seen in many aspects of our life. Like for example, what's a steam engine? It's coal being thrown into a particular place and it being directed through a chimney. And the power of that focused direction of that steam can run an entire locomotive. I'm sure all of you all have seen waterfalls. I don't know if any of you have stood under a waterfalls. Many years back, I went with a group of friends, and they were like very hefty guys, very strong guys. And we went to a waterfall. And interestingly, some of my friends, they had a very strange idea of going and getting a massage under the waterfall. They were thinking the waterfall is so much force. We stand under it, we'll get a good massage on our back, And they actually went and stood under the waterfall. And you won't believe what happened. When the water fell on their back, it hit them so hard that their backs were red and sore for like weeks together, literally. They underestimated the power of water. They underestimated the ability of water to, have such an impactful force. So when water is directed in a particular direction, it can light up an entire city. That is the kind of electricity that it can generate. So all of us want to focus. But unfortunately, a lot of us cannot focus because of two reasons. There are external distractions and then there are internal distractions. External distractions are media, gadgets, mobile phones, and problems. The ability of us to focus on one thing is just not there now because the mind is just, wildly distracted by these external distractions. And then there are internal distractions. What are the internal distractions? Lamentation of the past. We keep worrying about things that have already happened. We can't do anything about them, but we keep worrying about them all the time. And in the process of getting stuck in the past, we can't focus on the present. And if we are not stuck in the past, somehow we learn to let go of the past, we get stuck in the future. We run to the future. The mind runs towards the future. And it gets entangled in the web of possibilities. So it's lamentation for the past and worries for the future. And these two are solid internal distractions. And therefore, it is very important to learn to find our own ways of finding focus. I'm going to give you a very simple idea. Try doing this. And you will realize that how unfocused we are. All of us, including me, I do it all the time. So when I'm telling you all, I'm actually telling myself also. So don't think these classes are only for you all. It's also primarily for me. And by the way, you all also learn. We can do a simple exercise of becoming aware of the use of filler words in our speech. We use so many filler words. So basically interesting. So many filler words we use, and most of the time we are not even aware that we're using a filler word. It's so unconscious of us. And that's how we actually lack focus. This one small trick, this one small exercise can help us so much to understand that we need to focus. And what exactly is focus? Focus is nothing but awareness, isn't it? Focus is nothing but awareness. When our mind is clear, we can speak in a straightforward way with precision without insulating others. We end up using a lot of unconscious words. So these filler words are unconscious, and they're almost impossible to change to a great extent unless and until we really focus. There's a very beautiful saying that says, I think you're all enlightened until you open your mouths. Till you keep quiet, mouth is shut, everybody feels you are a very enlightened person. But the moment you open your mouth, you really come to know what's the state of your mind and state of your awareness. So, if we can just simply work on this one small thing, of course, there are many things that we can work on to increase our focus. But simply this one small thing of being aware of the unnecessary words that we use in our spoken language, it will help us find a little bit of focus. There is nothing more powerful than a focused mind. In fact, all of us, we function only on 10% of our mind power. 90% of our mind power is not even tapped, not even used. With the 10%, if we are able to achieve so much, what if we can achieve the full acceptance and the full control of the complete mind? There is so much more we can achieve in life. Here's another very beautiful story of Arjun's life. When Arjun was in the Gurukul of Dronacharya, one night something fascinating happened that changed Arjun's life completely. So, in the middle of the night, 12 o'clock in the night, Arjun heard some sounds, very alert, just got up and he started walking towards the direction of the sound. It was pitch dark, absolutely no lights around. And Arjun could hear distinctly some sound coming, and he realized it's coming from the kitchen. And as he started walking towards the kitchen, he walked in and the sound got even more intense. Somehow he turned on a light. He was shocked to see on the kitchen floor, Bhima was sitting with a box of laddus and both his hands filled with laddus and he's eating like mad. Arjun was shocked. He asked him, what are you doing in the middle of the night here like this? And why did you put on the lights? Bhima had a very simple explanation. That's actually too simplistic. So Bhima told Arjun that I felt hungry and I came here because I knew where the laddus were. So I'm eating them. I don't need light because I know where the laddus are. I know where my hand is. I know where my mouth is. Why do I need lights? When Arjun heard that, he was amazed. He was amazed at Bhima's answer. Because Bhima's answer actually gave him a lot of thoughts. The first thought Arjun had in his mind was, if Bhima can eat in the dark, why can't I practice archery in the dark? This was a revelation for him. See, there are two ways in which you can think about anything in life. A lot of us, whenever something happens to us in life, whenever anybody tells us anything in life, we usually have a negative way of looking at it, a critical way of looking at it, a fault finding way of looking at it. But Arjun, like people, they're very, very smart and they're very progressive in their thinking. Rather than focusing his energy on criticizing Bhima and his eating habits, he just thought, wow, if he can do something in the night, in the dark, why can't I learn from him? Isn't that progressive? Isn't that a progressive way of looking at apparent faults in others? A lot of us, we tend to choose the regressive way of looking at others' faults because it gives us comfort. It gives us comfort that I don't have to improve myself. Look at this guy, he's so bad. And we relish so much in that comfort that we don't really understand that even from this negative situation, I can learn something positive for my life. And the same thing can be repeated for every aspect of life. That's the first thing that you can learn from this story. Another very beautiful thing that you can learn from this story is the importance of hard work and discipline. There's nothing in this world that cannot be achieved by hard work and discipline. Unfortunately, for a lot of us, we do not want to put in that kind of efforts because there is pain in it. There's a very beautiful thought I thought I'll share it with you all. And again, it's a small exercise that I want all of you to try. If you are a right-hander, the right-hand person, your left hand has a terminology in psychology. It's called the beginner's mind. What does it mean? What does beginner's mind mean? It simply means that your left hand, or for those who are lefties, their right hand, their non-dominant hand, is untrained. And try using that hand for a lot of things that you do, basically. Brushing your teeth with your left hand, or for a lefty, brushing the teeth with the right hand. So struggling to use the non-dominant hand can actually help us a lot. In what way can it help? The first thing that it can help you is being aware of your beginner's mind. It is said, in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in an expert's mind, there are few. When we were small children and we were learning everything, how many possibilities we saw in life? Every small thing we saw, we used to find a way to play with it, isn't it? Children are experts in playing with anything. But as you grow older, you need a particular thing only to play. You can't play with anything. Why? Because as you grow older, you have kept aside your beginner's mind. You have stopped training your beginner's mind, and you have got into an expert's mind. And expert's mind doesn't learn. You stop learning. The moment you become an expert, you stop learning. And that's exactly what happens to us. The moment we think we're knowledgeable, the moment we think we're educated, the moment we think we're successful, the moment we think we are skilled, we stop learning. And when we stop learning from others. And when we stop learning from others, we think they're experts and they're stupid. And the moment you think you are expert and you're stupid, others are stupid, you begin to feel entitled. That's when you stop learning. Look at Arjun here. Arjun was trying to find possibilities in something that apparently would not strike any of us, isn't it? To bring in possibilities in your life, you have to start learning to activate the beginner's mind. The beginner's mind is very, very important for all of us to have. Like all of you all are coming for Gita classes. The question is, do you come to these classes with an expert mind, or do you come to these classes with a beginner's mind? For those who have come here with an expert mind, I'm sorry, you won't learn much. But if you come here with a beginner's mind, there is a lot of possibilities that you can learn here. There is a lot that you can gain here. There's a lot that you can achieve. It's all about your mindset. Application of anything that happens to you in your life, it all depends on how you have trained your mind. Arjun had an amazing ability to apply theory in practice. A lot of us, we love theory. We love theoretical knowledge. But the question is, how can I apply what I learn? How can I apply what I see in my life? Arjun saw Bhim eating in the dark in the middle of the night. And he learned to apply that in his life. That's what knowledge is. There are two aspects, or rather two levels to knowledge. One is knowledge, and second is wisdom. Wisdom is digested knowledge. Knowledge is very theoretical, but wisdom is very practical. And knowledge becomes wisdom when that knowledge is practically processed and digested. Therefore, we really need to learn to from Arjun this idea of learning to apply what we have learned. And interestingly, application is not easy. It's very intuitive, and it's actually a blessing. Let me tell you a story. Many years back, one of our devotees was distributing Bhagavad Gita in a train, local trains in Mumbai. And he was going and handing over, saying, please take Bhagavad Gita, please take Bhagavad Gita. There's one guy, he got very angry on our devotee, very, very angry. Shouted at him literally. He said, you nonsense. Krishna gave Bhagavad Gita to Arjun free. How dare you sell it for 80 rupees? Imagine if somebody asks you something like that. How do you answer that? This devotee just spontaneously, something from inside, just give him an answer. And he gave an amazing reply. You know what he said? He said, Krishna gave Arjun Bhagavad Gita in Kurukshetra. We are selling it in Bombay, 80 rupees a transportation charge. And this guy was so stunned when he heard that. He actually bought the Gita from that devotee. So many times, knowledge which is theoretical is easy to process and learn. In fact, that's what our whole education system is all about, right? Rote learning, memory, and you just learn it and then go and vomit it out in the exam, and then that's all. You're done with it. But application of knowledge is more important than just theoretical understanding of knowledge. And that is what Bhagavad Gita helps us with. And that is what our scriptures help us with. The third story of Arjun's life is a very beautiful story. Just before the Mahabharat war, Arjun went to Krishna's house because Arjun knew that Krishna is going to make the difference in the war. Whose side Krishna is on is going to make the big difference. And Krishna was a cousin to both. So, interestingly, exactly at the same time, Duryodhan decided to visit Krishna in Dwarka. Apparently, Duryodhan came first. When Duryodhan entered Krishna's palace, he was told Krishna is resting. So he decided to go and wait in the bedroom of Krishna. Krishna was lying on his bed and he had a chadar all over his body, it's covered his face also. So Duryodhan decided, anyway, I don't want to disturb him. I'm asking him a favor, so let me wait. So there was a chair next to the head of Krishna. He went and sat on a chair, patiently waiting for Krishna to wake up. Sometime later, Arjun came in. And as soon as Arjun walked in, he saw Krishna was sleeping. He sat next to the feet of Krishna. As soon as Arjun sat, Krishna got up. And Krishna saw Arjun first. It is said, Duryodhan's place is at the head of the Lord. And Arjun's place is at the feet of the Lord. Some people like to dance on the head of God, right? Making God do what they want. So Duryodhana was waiting at the head of Krishna, Arjuna was sitting at the feet of Krishna. And interestingly, Krishna saw Arjuna first because that's the way God is. God sees those who are humble first. So when he saw Arjuna first, Krishna immediately asked him, "Oh Arjun, you have come here. Please tell me, what do you want?" And Arjun said, the war is going to start and we would like you to be on our side. And Duryodhana got up at the back. He said, "Hey, wait a minute. I came here first." Krishna said, "See, I saw him first. Let me talk to him first." So Duryodhana had to wait. And Krishna told Arjun, "I give you two choices. Either you choose me or my army." He said, "If you choose me, I will come. I'll be on your side, but I won't lift any weapons. And I won't participate in the war. But if you choose my army, you will get the entire Narayani Sena." At that point in time, Dwarka's army was one of the most powerful armies in the world. Most equipped, most powerful, most well-trained, and a huge army. So Krishna gave this as an offer to Arjun. And Duryodhana was really tensed because he didn't know what Arjun is going to choose. Obviously, for Arjun, there was not much of a choice as such. He was very clear. He was very, very clear right from the beginning. I want Krishna, that's all. I don't need your Narayana Sena, I just want you. Duryodhana obviously was like, He said, okay. He just acted as if he was okay with, Narayana Sena, basically. But he was inside, he was happy, he was thrilled, in fact, that Arjun was a fool and the Pandavas all sentimental guys, So Arjun walked away choosing Krishna. All of us in our lives, we'll have to make some choices. All of us have to make choices in our life. In fact, there is a term known as Swatantra Ratna. Swatantra Ratna means the jewel of choice. All of us, the only thing we possess in our life, this is literally the only thing we possess. All your two BHKs and 3 BHKs are not your possessions, actually, because they're going to go away at some point. Your bank balance is not your real possession. Your family and relatives are not at all your possessions. What is your real possession? The only thing that all of us really own is the jewel of choice, the free will to make choices. That's what we own, actually. And everything that happens to us in our life and everything we gain is a result of these choices. All of us, at some point, will have this in front of us as an option. Either you choose Krishna or Krishna's resources. Either you choose God or God's resources. When I'm saying God, what does it mean? It also means values. It also means principles. It also means standards. When we see that we are choosing Krishna and not Krishna's resources, it simply means we're choosing values over valuables. A lot of people choose valuables over values. And that is when we all fall in trouble. Every one of us, at some point, our loyalty breaks. For a police officer, for a Hawaldar standing on the road, 100 rupees is enough to break his loyalty. For somebody who's an SI or something like that, maybe a few thousand rupees is enough to break his loyalty. For somebody who's a DGI and all that, maybe a few lakh rupees is enough to break his loyalty. For someone who's a commissioner and all that, maybe a crore is enough to break his loyalty. The question is, all of us, we're all prone to temptations. At what point does our loyalty break? For some people, loyalty breaks with a few pennies. That's all. That's the value of our loyalty. But for some people, no matter what, the loyalty doesn't break. So Arjun here, when he had that choice between choosing Narayana Sena, the most powerful resources, or choosing God, he chose God without a second thought. Without a second thought. When we are to choose between temptations and values, we may probably take not just 2 thoughts, we may take 5 thoughts, 10 thoughts. We might probably take a few years to take a decision. Do I choose temptations or do I choose values? Do I choose valuables or do I choose values? Sometimes people spend an entire lifetime making this choice, confused. So all of us, we have to realize that when we choose things over people, we're actually choosing valuables over values. How many divorces, how many stories of divorces we hear where the husband or wife makes a choice, money over the relationship? How many stories we hear of corporate leaders choosing a few crores over the value system? How many stories we hear of loyalty breaks simply because of the inability to make the right choice? Here, Arjun is a startling example from this perspective of choosing what is more valuable in terms of values rather than in terms of things. Choosing people over things. In the Mahabharat, one of the things that Arjun represents is skills, talents, you can say. But there were many talented people in the Mahabharata. You study the Mahabharata, Arjun and Karna were almost equally talented. There's not much difference in the way they were talented. In fact, Krishna appreciates Karna a lot once. During the war, when Arjuna and Karna's chariot was in front of each other, Karna shot an arrow, and the arrow hit the chariot and pushed the chariot 10 yards behind. Krishna began glorifying Karna like anything to Arjun. So, wow, what a warrior this is. Arjun said, hey, Krishna, I shot many arrows and I've pushed chariots 800 yards behind. You never appreciated me. How come you're appreciating this guy? Is just 10 yards, he has pushed the chariot behind. Krishna says, in those chariots that you push 100 yards behind, I was not sitting on it. In spite of me sitting on it, he is pushed 10 yards behind, means he's powerful. So even Krishna appreciated the skills of Karna. It means from a skill point of view, Arjun and Karna were practically at par. But that's not the only problem. That's not the only difference. When we look at people, when we look at human beings, and especially when we look at people who are potentially leaders, the big difference between the one that wins and the also runs. There are many also runs in our life. He also ran the race. Most people become also ran. So they're all part of that category known as also ran. But there's only one winner. And everybody else also ran. So what is the difference between that winner and those who also ran? One big difference. It's not that the also rans all don't have the skill that the winner has. They have probably better skills also, many times. So what is that one difference that is different between the winner and the also rans? The one difference that is really, that stands out is good attitude. When I teach in the IIMs and IITs, especially when I go to these institutions, I begin my session by telling them something that shocks them many times. And imagine this is the first class I'm giving them, in the whole course. And the first thing I tell them is talent is one of the most useless things you can have in life. I begin my class by saying this. And many of them are zapped because wherever they have reached, they've reached because of talent. And I'm telling them talent is the most useless thing you can have in life. They're wondering, what am I saying? And then I explain to them, a lot of things can be achieved by talent. But when you come across problems that talent cannot solve, that is when you realize talent is useless. There are many problems in life that talent can solve. But there are some problems in life that talent cannot solve. And when you come across problems that talent cannot solve, and all you have is talent, that's when you're in trouble. The sad part of our education system is that a lot of people who pass out from our education system, all they have is talent. And really, in the real world, talent is not enough. Talent is not enough to become successful. Along with talent, you also need good attitude. So what differentiates the leader from the also rans is that good attitude. So from the Mahabharat's perspective, Arjun and Karna were equally talented, but what made Arjun stand apart was the fact that along with talent, he nurtured his attitude also. Arjun and Karna, if you look at them, Karna focused on skills, whereas Arjun focused on character. Karna was very successful in exhibition matches, but all wars, Arjun was successful. Karna focused on ambition, but Arjun focused on dedication. Karna believed he's a self-made person. Arjun believed in surrender. Surrender to a guru, surrender to a teacher, surrender to a higher authority. And that's what made Arjun unique. A very special story in Arjun's life is this one. Arjun had many names. Of the many names that Arjun had, one of the names is Dhananjaya. What is the meaning of Dhananjaya? The word Dhananjaya means the one who acquires wealth. So Arjun at one point was given this charge of acquiring lots of wealth so that they can fight in the war. So Arjun, in that process, reached the heavens to meet his father Indra. So when Arjun went to the heavens and met his father Indra, Indra organized a beautiful ceremony concert for him. Arjuna was sitting there on Indra's throne along with his father and watching this beautiful dance performance by the Apsaras. And one particular Apsara caught Arjun's attention. And Arjun kept looking at her for quite some time. And Indra noticed this. And Indra sent that Apsara to Arjun later. That Apsara's name was Urvashi. And Urvashi came up to Arjun and she told him that you are a handsome man, I'm a very beautiful girl. Why don't we unite? Arjun said, oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't look at you like that. Urvashi said, what do you mean by that? Arjun said, I know that you were married to my ancestor Pururava. So Arjun had a great ancestor named Pururava. He was a powerful king. And Urvashi was married to him centuries back. And Arjun tells her, when I saw you, I was amazed to see that my great grandmother is dancing so nicely. Now imagine a 96-year-old lady doing Bharatanatyam. Isn't that a really surprising thing? And this lady was not just 96 or 100 years, she was like centuries old. So Arjuna was looking at her with that amazement. And Urvashi really took it badly. When you talk to a woman, you be really careful about how you define age and how do you address, So Urvashi got really offended. Nowadays, people get offended when they're called Mataji. In our ISKCON culture, we call women Mataji. It's a way of respecting. You respect your mother the most, right? So we are taught to respect all women as mothers in that sense. But here, Urvashi got offended. She was so offended. She cursed him. And she cursed him saying that, I curse you that you will become a eunuch. Now, for somebody who's a powerful warrior, a curse like that is not easy to handle. His father intervened. Indra came in and intervened, and he reduced the duration of that curse to 1 year. Because it was not Arjun's fault at all. Arjun didn't do anything wrong, but that Urvashi just got angry and cursed him. And Indra, he helped Arjun that way. And Arjun could choose that 1 year period whenever he wants the curse to apply. Normally, if anything like this happens to anyone, they would be highly disturbed. Embarrassment is not easy to handle, isn't it? In fact, one of the things that human beings are always aware of is shame. Shame is probably one of the first things that we develop in our lives. The moment we become conscious and aware, we start understanding this idea of shame. Childhood, shame, puppy shame. Somehow, we're slowly inculcated with the idea of shame in this world. And shame is one of the most powerful, experiences of feeling embarrassment. Imagine you're in a crowded airport and someone shouts at you so badly. What you have done? Nothing. You only put your bag from here to there. That's all. Apparently, you didn't do anything. But that guy gets upset and blasts on you like anything. What do you feel? You feel embarrassed, isn't it? You feel angry, obviously, but a lot more embarrassed and ashamed of what has happened publicly. So that dealing with shame is not an easy thing. And here is Arjun, who learned to transform a curse into a blessing. Arjun used that curse during the 1 year of incognito. So the Pandavas were supposed to be spending 12 years in exile and 1 year in incognito. Incognito means that they are not supposed to be visible to the world. And if anybody spots them and identifies them, then they have to go again for exile for another 12 years. That was the condition. So it is very important that they remain invisible for one whole year. And with a person as charming and powerful as Arjun, it's not easy. And therefore, Arjun used this curse that 1 year. And it's not that he disguised as Brihanalla, the eunuch, but he actually became a eunuch for 1 year. Learning to transform a curse into a blessing is a powerful art. We all experience challenges in life. Challenges can either become a calamity or an opportunity, depending on how you look at them and how you handle them. A lot of people, when they go through challenges in their life, they allow it to deteriorate into a calamity. But very few people can stand up like Arjun and transform those challenges into opportunities. That requires a lot of substance. That requires a lot of inner substance. And that's when you really can help it. Think of any weakness that you have, any weakness, whatever it may be, and see how you can use that weakness and benefit from it. Every one of us have some weakness or the other. But a lot of the weaknesses that we have also have an advantage. Experts who are really smart know how to make use of their weaknesses rather than cry over them. So many people who are born blind, who don't have eyes, they learn to train the other senses. Somebody trains their ears, somebody trains their mouth, somebody trains, intuitions. So they somehow manage it. Massive weakness, but they have learned how to deal with it. Each one of us have some weakness. It only requires a little bit of awareness and meditation to see how you can transform your weaknesses and benefit from them. One time, a man was walking from his house, just left his house with his friend. They were going to answer an interview. As they stepped out of the house, a crow passed over them and dropped Mahabharat. This guy's suit was like messed up. And immediately, almost spontaneously, he said, "Thank God." So his friend asked him, "Come on, your suit is messed up. What are you saying, thank God here?" He said, "Thank God elephants don't fly. The quantity would have been much bigger." Imagine an elephant flew, and it dropped from top. We do not have options over what happens to us. It happens. In all our life, shit happens, right? When you're walking, you don't control the bird saying that, "Hey, don't shit on me." If they want to shit, they will shit. And if it's going to fall on you, it's going to fall. You don't have much control over anything. You don't have much control over how your boss behaves with you. You don't have much control over how your colleagues behave with you. You don't have much control over how airlines behave with you. Today morning, I left at 5 o'clock in the morning and I reached Bombay. I left from Goa at 5 o'clock in the morning. I reached Bombay at 5 o'clock in the evening. You can imagine. And a lot of crazy things happened during the whole day, 12 hours. But it's important that we learn how to deal with these things rather than get bogged down by them. There's not much we have control over many things in life, but we do have control over how we deal with them and how we react to them. And that's what we can learn from this story of Arjun's life. Arjun learned the ability to transform a curse into a blessing. And that ability is a very powerful ability for all of us to have. The next story of Arjun's life is when his son Abhimanyu died. Abhimanyu was a 16-year-old boy killed mercilessly by a group of 6 warriors, powerful warriors, in a brutal, really, really bad way. Absolutely unacceptable. When the 16-year-old boy died and Arjun came to know about it, he was shocked, disappointed, sad, devastated, frustrated, angry. But something amazing that we have to really learn from this story is this. The next day morning, Arjun got up, went to fight again. In fact, the next day morning, he fought more harder than the previous many days of war. Many times when we go through devastating experiences in our own lives, our emotions become very difficult to handle. And we become so bogged down by those emotions that the first thing that we forget is our duties. Emotions are natural. We need to cry. It's not that Arjun didn't cry. Arjun was not hard-hearted. Arjun was not, some kind of a detached father who was not at all bothered about his son's demise. No, not at all. He was very disappointed, very shocked, and very sad. But he did not compromise his duty. Most importantly, he didn't blame Krishna for it. When something goes wrong in our life, the first person we blame is God. And the last person we blame is ourselves. For many things that happen to us in our lives, we are responsible for certain choices that we make. Rather than blaming somebody else, it is important to accept the responsibility for those choices. When Dronacharya was told in the Mahabharat that your son Ashwathama is dead, what did Dronacharya do? Dropped his weapons, stopped performing his duties. That's what most people do. When things don't go the way they want it to go, they give up. It's so easy to give up, isn't it? It's so easy to walk away from responsibilities. It is so easy to keep crying because it makes us feel good about ourselves. In the sense, self-pity is actually a sense gratification. Self-pity is a powerful gratification. And a lot of people love it so much that they find so many reasons to pity themselves. Emotions are important, but more important is to perform your duties in spite of those emotions. Arjun stood up no matter what happened. When first thing is learn not to blame and learn not to give up one's duties. And rather than giving up his duties, he decided, I need to do everything I have to do for the sake of pleasing the Lord, for the sake of pleasing Krishna. Just before the Mahabharat war, Arjun broke down because he just felt, I can't do it anymore. And Krishna spoke the entire Gita to pick him up. Arjun had the humility to take guidance. He had the humility to say, I don't know, I'm confused, please guide me. Therefore it is said, Vijayi Vinayi Bhava. Vijayi Bhava means may you be successful in life. But along with being successful, may you remain humble. And that's so important that you have a balance between humility and success. And the ability to take guidance is one of the most powerful qualities of Arjun. He had the ability to seek guidance from Krishna and from so many others. Let me tell you a very powerful story of Arjun's life that is connected with this aspect. When the war got over, after the 18 days of war, the Pandavas had won. Krishna and Arjun returned back to their camp. When they got back to the camp, Krishna parked the chariot, told Arjun, you get off first. Arjun said, why should I get off? Isn't usually in the in the traditional olden times, the driver gets off first and then goes and helps the passenger get off. That's usually the trend. And that's what Krishna did all these days, the 18 days of the war. Every single day, Krishna got off first. But on the last day, when the war is over, Krishna tells Arjun, you get off first. Arjun is shocked and bewildered and is confused. Why is he saying? But anyway, he trusts Krishna and he gets off the chariot. And then Krishna jumps off the chariot. As soon as Krishna jumps off the chariot, the entire chariot bursts into flames. The whole chariot just bursts into flames. And Arjun is shocked. He doesn't know what has happened. He asks Krishna, what just happened? Krishna told Arjun, in the 18 days of war, every single warrior had to change his chariot multiple times because invariably the chariots would break. But Arjun's was the only chariot that lasted for 18 days. And Krishna told him, the number of missiles that have been fired on your chariot should have broken the first day itself. But because I was sitting on it, nothing happened to the chariot. And the day I decided to give it up, the chariot went into flames. All of us in our lives, we are subjected to so many missiles. There are so many people who are hurling negativity at us. There are so many people who are throwing all kinds of negative energies at us. Most of us, we do not have a chariot driver like Krishna driving the chariot of our lives. And because we do not have chariot driver like Krishna driving the chariot of our life, we are totally unprotected. We do not have the right guidance. We do not have the right protection. And we do not have the right shelter. And therefore, when we are fighting against these negative energies, it is so very important to have the humility to accept the shelter of the Lord. Potentially, we all can make the choice that Arjun made, choosing Krishna over Krishna's resources. We all have the choice of choosing values over valuables. The moment you decide that I want to choose Krishna over everything else, the protection also comes along with it. I don't know how many of you all have seen this LIC policy, life insurance company. They have this tagline that says, Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. You should carefully read it next time. It's a Bhagavad Gita shloka, actually. You know what it means? It's Krishna telling Arjun, Yogakshemam Vahamyaham means, whatever you have, I'll protect it. And whatever you lack, I'll provide it. That is the assurance that Krishna gives. The moment you choose him, that is the assurance that Krishna gives. The moment you choose values over valuables. And that is the assurance that Krishna gives when you have the humility to ask for guidance. Arjun is a personification of that humility. Arjun is a person who really epitomes this idea of developing two qualities in yourself that simultaneously needs to exist. There's something known as public victory. Public victory means how the world looks at you, how successful you are in the eyes of the world. But more important than public victory is private victory. Private victory is how you look at yourself. Interestingly, a lot of people are very successful publicly. They have a lot of public victory, but unfortunately, massive failures on a private level. When you are a massive failure in your own eyes, what is the point in you being successful in the world's eyes, right? Arjun is an example of someone who is a success from a public victory point of view, but more successful from private victory point of view. If we really want to be somebody like Arjun, we need to learn the art of balancing these two aspects of life. The aspect of aspiring for public victory, but more importantly, aspiring for private victory. And the aspiration of a private victory is so important. And that's the last lesson we're going to see in Arjun's life today. The ability and the honesty to accept I need help. And humility to seek help from Krishna. And these two, the honesty with your own weaknesses and the humility to accept guidance. The combination is what makes someone victorious on a private level. Hare Krishna. I'll stop here. We can take some questions and discussions.